Welcome to another episode of the RAG podcast. And for those of you who don't know, the RAG stands for Recruitment Agency Growth. Since early 2019, I've been interviewing the most successful and innovative recruitment owners to learn how they rose to the top of their game. In season 7, I'm going to be having raw, authentic, and insightful conversations with agency owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, people across the industry. And I want to be learning about their ambitions, what's happening behind the scenes in their agencies today, and their plans to navigate difficult market conditions. I'll be bringing you the latest and greatest recruitment stories every single week on Wednesdays at noon across multiple platforms. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the RAG podcast. On this week's show, I'm super excited to be joined by Mirtes Lobaito. She is the CEO and founder of AGM Tech Solutions, a recruitment firm headquartered in New Jersey in the US with 25 recruiters and 150 contractors across the nation. She started her business just under 6 years ago, however, only entered the US a few years earlier from Brazil and could not speak a word of English. She worked as a cleaner and a babysitter in the first few years, then got a job in tech sales, moved into recruitment, and then launched her business in 2018. And in the last 5 years, they've done 100 million in revenue in sales, which is just phenomenal. She's done that with 3 children, as an immigrant, without English being her first language, and the energy this woman has is incredible. In this show, we go through her story, her life in Brazil, coming to the US, and everything in between. If you're looking for an inspirational story to get you off the ground and start or drive your recruitment business even further, this is the one for you. So, without further ado, Mirtes, welcome to the RAG podcast.
Thank you, Sean. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
No, thank you. Thank you. What time is it where you are right now? For me, it's almost 3 p.m. in the afternoon. What are we saying for you?
Oh my goodness, it's time for your afternoon coffee.
Yeah.
It's 9:43, 9:44 a.m. here.
Thank you. I've interrupted your morning, right? So I must be important. Yes. Mornings are sacred in my house, right? You don't do that.
You're good. You're good.
Well, we've been looking at this for months, right? Well, I think it was late last year we talked about this, and for whatever reason, obviously I've had a baby and my life's gone a bit bonkers, and you've been busy. Took us a few months to get here, but I'm really glad we did. Before I get into your story, for anyone who doesn't know you, obviously I've given you a brief introduction, but it never does justice. Give us the bird's eye overview, none of the detailed story, just what your agency does, how many people you are, where you're based, that kind of stuff. And then we'll go and find out how you got here.
Okay, sure. So I'm Mirtes Lobaito. I'm the CEO and founder of AGM Tech Solutions. We are a women-owned, Latina-owned IT staffing firm that specializes in providing IT talent to companies, Fortune 500 companies and mid-market across the U.S. Our company is headquartered here in New Jersey. We are about 25 internal employees with about 150 consultants working for our clients.
Amazing. That was clear, crisp. I like it. And you're, what is it, nearly 6 years, 5.5 years old or so?
Yeah, we started the company at the end of 2018. So about five and a half years.
It goes quick, right?
Oh my goodness, so quick.
I started Hoxo 7 years ago next week. I started my business.
Wow, congrats. I love the number 7.
I know. I can't believe it though. I'm like, I was literally last night just reflecting on that, like the February before we launched it in the March, and just how different life was and how much fear I had. You know, could I do it? Was I capable of it? One thing I've always done, and I'm sure we'll get into a bit of this, is, you know, I've always probably started things when I'm not ready. I think 90% of the things that have worked well for me, I've just gone for and not procrastinated over. And so many people just, they're always waiting for that right time. And I don't know for you, but for me, there was no right time. And I'm so grateful I took the plunge when I did in 2017.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's, you know, I think we hear that, you know, from so many people. And we need to see more of those stories, because those are really, it's just good examples, you know, for people that are trying to go for a different career or a different position in the company. It's like, do I have what it takes? And I think the more we hear stories and examples, the more encouragement we provide, you know, to people that want to do something different with their lives and just not sure, you know, if it is the right time or if they have what it takes.
Yeah. Well, I believe most people listening to this can do it. And let's find out how you've done it. So you started life in Brazil, I believe, and now you're in the USA, right? So tell us, how did you get to living in the US?
Yes. So I was born and raised in Brazil in a very, very small town. I mean, literally dirt road, small town with my family. Got a family of four. I have three siblings in Brazil. My whole family is still in Brazil. I'm the only one here.
Wow.
So, sitting around the dinner table, growing up, you always hear about how amazing this country is. America is, the dreamland. And I had known people that came here, so it was a dream of mine to come to America. I was trying to pursue to go to college in Brazil at the time, and I approached my parents and I said, I really would love to go to America, learn English. That was like I had such a
Could you
great
speak
passion
some
for it.
English at that point?
No, I did not speak any English, but
Wow.
I just love the language. I would listen to music, right? So, to my surprise, my parents said yes and agreed to let me come, which I thought it was insane for them to let a 20, 21-year-old come to a country that they had no family, no English, no nothing. So yeah, I said goodbye to my parents, and with $1,000 in my pocket, and not knowing anyone here, I came to pursue the American dream. To be honest with you, I didn't come to stay. I came because I wanted to learn English and then go back to Brazil.
Yeah.
That was my goal. I said, I want to come learn English, go to school here, and then go back to Brazil because my family was, established there and everything. We're very close. But after 6 months of living in America, I absolutely fell in love with this country. And I remember calling my parents and saying, I'm not going back. And, they were disappointed, obviously.
How
But
far
they
is the
supported
flight
me.
from where you were to where you grew up?
So, gosh, it's like in the middle of Texas, nowhere.
Hmm.
So, it was literally a 5-hour drive to the next airport city, and then an hour flight to Sao Paulo. From Sao Paulo to here, it's about 9, 10 hours flight.
Wow. So yeah, it's not just. I'm just asking that for the European listeners because you know, I can get to Egypt in like 4 hours, right? So it's
Right.
like, it's a much bigger scale we're talking about for a
Yeah.
lot of your travel. It's a long,
It's a
long
big
way.
one.
Was the time
Yeah.
zone quite similar though? Because it's on the straight line. So is it
Yeah, it's about
one?
2 hour difference.
Yeah.
Sometimes one, it could go
Yeah.
as far as 3 hours difference.
That must be you. That's helpful, right? It's a bit like South
Yeah,
Africa for us. We're 11 hours away, but because the time zone works, it feels a lot easier to communicate.
yeah, yeah.
So what did you do when you landed in the US? Like you obviously studied, and then how did you progress from studies to working?
So I didn't go to college here. I don't
Right.
have a formal education, and my goal was to study English. I went through the journey of any immigrant when you come to this country. I cleaned homes for 5 years. I was a housekeeper. And, I had to find ways, and means to support myself. Even though my family had business in Brazil, it's very expensive to, when you come to the country, to this country. So I cleaned homes and babysat and, worked in restaurants. And then 5 years when my English was, when I felt comfortable and confident in my English, then I pursued, then I worked myself up into corporate America. So in 2005, I started my career in technology sales for a company called eNeighborhoods, and we used to sell this marketing software to the real estate industry. So that's when my corporate America industry started in America.
Wow. So did you have any formal English train coach? Like, did you have a tutor or anything, or was that just picked up through
No,
living?
no, I didn't. Yeah. Yeah.
Like just
Really, I mean, I would just listen to the radio constantly, TV. I would go to work and come home and, put my head on the books and just study English every single
Yeah.
day.
So you weren't
That's
like
how I learned.
surrounding yourself with Brazilians and living in putting Brazilian radio on, which I'm sure you could have, but you didn't. You
I
immersed
did it.
yourself. Yeah.
It's such a good point that you make because a lot of Brazilians, they do that when they
Yeah.
come here. They go to Brazilian supermarkets, only Brazilian restaurants. They just want to live. I didn't want that. I really wanted to immerse myself in the American culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I did. That was my
Yeah, I know
focus.
that because my ex was Turkish and her mum had been in the UK for 25 years and could barely speak English because
Yeah,
Turkish radio, Turkish TV, Turkish restaurants, Turkish supermarkets, same thing. And
yeah.
there's literally a Turkish newspaper in London, so you could just get by without it. I mean, how she drove a car and read the road signs, I have no idea, but she got by. Um, so you go from cleaning homes to
Right.
getting and you again. there's one thing doing a job in English, but there's another thing selling in English, right? Because you've got to,
Yeah.
that's a different skill set that most people who speak English can't do. Never
Yeah.
mind, So how did you find your ability there, and I guess what worked for you in that sales role?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So, I grew up with, I have to say I had a front row seat in watching my parents run businesses. My parents back home, they had retail businesses,
Right.
clothing stores, supermarkets, all that. So I already had the people skills of like, interacting with clients and all that. I have to say waitressing really gave me that skill of like talking to people and like, developing my English. So even though my English wasn't perfect, I learned, from waitressing. But I remember my first job in corporate America with this company called the Neighborhoods. You had to make 100 cold calls a day, and your sales was over the phone calling, calling real estate agents, and you're selling the software. And I remember I sat like with a lot of cubes around me, and my colleagues would make fun of me because I would say like, "Hey, do you have a penny hand?" Like, like it was very like I had an
Yeah.
accent, and it would make fun of me. Oh my God, look at how she's talking. And within 3 months, I became the top salesperson of that
Wow.
company. So I didn't let those things stop me. I just, I like if I didn't know something, I would ask, "Hey, how do you say this? How do you say that?" But it's honestly constantly studying. So I think it's a combination of obviously my parents and just the experience that I had in Brazil of dealing with people, and then just learning. Like on the day, I would hear somebody on the phone, and however they said it, I would copy it and then repeat it. So
I love that. You're literally soaking it up like a sponge. So,
yeah.
what was it that made you the top salesperson within? Was it 3 months or 3 years? 3 months.
No, 3 months,
So what?
literally within
Yeah.
three,
What would you
four
say?
months.
What was it about your? Obviously, you got the language. And then what was your approach to it, and how did you suddenly rise to the top?
So I'm a high achiever. And when you set a challenge before me, I said, I will go out of my way to accomplish that. So whenever, I saw this one guy and he was the top salesperson, and I said, well, if he can be that, so can I. I just had that belief about myself. If somebody could do something, so could I. Nothing would stop me. So I think it was just, I would constantly go to the top sales people of the company and learn from them. And I would just set that bar for myself. No, if he could be number one, so can I. So I think it was just hard work, just really study what they were doing right. And then obviously, learn from your leaders. I would
Yeah.
meet with my leader at the time and ask, how can I say this better? How can I close this customer better? How can I rebuttal this, this objection? So it was just like constant hard work and looking to outperform myself.
And you got to a point in that job. You're top of the tree. So then, how long till you got into recruitment? How did you move into recruitment? Tell us that story.
Yeah, so I got married and moved to New Jersey, and it wasn't, I was no longer satisfied where I was at the company at the time selling, this software, and a recruiter called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, we've got this job here, in IT staffing, and would love to send you for an interview." And I knew nothing about IT staffing. Now, remember, like even though I was selling a marketing software, I didn't know about this industry. I didn't even know this industry existed. IT, that sounded like Chinese to me when she
Yeah.
said that. I'm like, what's IT? Much less Java, Oracle, data, anything. So I went for an interview and I said yes to the job that I knew. I didn't know what I was gonna do in terms of like what the job was really required. All I knew is that I was gonna deal with customers and all the basics, the foundation of building relationships with customers and selling a service, but I had to learn what IT staffing was. And yeah, so I said yes. That was in 2008, and that's when my experience began in the IT staffing industry, which I absolutely love.
And was that like an end-to-end recruitment role? Was that like finding customers 360, filling your own jobs, or was it more of a account
It
management?
was
Like
an
what?
account manager role. So my job was to go find clients, to find, business and opportunities. And we had a delivery of recruitment team that would then work on those jobs.
Right. So you didn't actually fill the jobs; you just won the business. And did you still manage the business once you signed it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So how did you then evolve into owning your own business? Because again, most people I know who start businesses have got a really well-rounded skill set. Like it's rare that they've just done sales and not done delivery. And
Yeah.
did you move into that, or how did that involve for you?
Yeah, so actually, my job at the very first company didn't last long. It was right in 2008, 2009.
Right.
As you know, there's a big
Financial
recession
crash.
in America. I got laid off literally 9 months into that job, and I was devastated. I had never been laid off before. So then I went to work at another IT staffing company, and that's truly where my career took off. I became the top salesperson of that company, worked there for 7 years, and it was really an incredible experience. That's really where I learned the business, where I was taught the business. My leader really helped me in my development, and really became obsessed with this industry and passionate about working with clients, helping them solve their technology problems through talent acquisition, connecting people with opportunities, and working side by side with my delivery team to meet those needs of the client. So I spent 7 years at that company, and really that's where I would say my career really flourished, where I became an expert in this business. So from there, I went to another company for 2 years and felt very limited. I've always had this entrepreneurial mindset, this entrepreneurial spirit to go do something great and bigger. So when I left that company, went to this other company, I just wasn't utilizing all my skills and doing the very thing that I believed in. So at the end of 2018, I just woke up one day and I said, you know what? I came to America to pursue something great. Like, what if I start my own company? Not to mention, there's not a lot of women owned and Latina owned, minority owned IT staffing firms. As you know, it's very male dominated. There's about 20,000 IT staffing firms, right, in US.
Yeah.
So I said, I had the courage and I said, I'm going to start my own business. And
And when was that? So when did the penny drop that you were going to be your own business owner? What was it? How soon before? How close to actually doing it was it?
I think it was beginning of 2018.
Mm.
I remember I was talking to a couple of leaders and they said, Mirtes, you should really do this. And this person really encouraged me too. And I just, like I said, I've always believed if, when I left Brazil, I was going to come to America to do and make something out of myself. And it was just a matter of, obviously, I had a lot of self doubt. I had never owned a business. I had never hired employees. I had never managed anyone. I was a salesperson, but it was that desire of like, hey, be bigger than you are, go and reach more than you are, and just believing that I could actually do this. So, and then I just decided, I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I've got nothing to lose, and I'll never know if this is going to work unless I say yes and go after it.
And if I'm correct in the dates, you must have had is it two kids by then and maybe a third on the way or a third just been born at
That's right.
2020?
Yeah. So I had two kids, and I had just given birth to my third child.
So
Yeah.
not only are you, you know, have you never owned a business, but you're a mother of and I'm in that boat, right? I've got a 5-month old. I know what it's like. So how the hell do you start a business when you've got a baby and you've got all this other responsibility which mums do?
Yeah. And I had a lot at stake, right? I was the main
Mhm.
breadwinner of our home, and I had to quit my job, earning a six-figure income job to start this. Like I said, I think, the same way when I said, hey, I'm saying goodbye to my family, like having that courage to like, step into the unknown without knowing like that. I just go back to that place of like, you know what? I can do this. Obviously, I have an amazing support system. My
Mm.
husband is incredible, but it was a big decision. I had to meet with my family and discuss that with them because again, there was a lot at stake. We had just purchased a new house. Here I am quitting a job that I have a steady income to start a business with no employees and no money, no clients yet, and said, well, let's do this. Again, it's just I'm a person of big faith, and
So was it your husband then that would do more of the childcare in the daytime and allow you to, or how did you logistically manage it? Because there's a lot to do in a day, with three
yeah.
kids. I know, and I mean, I'm so grateful I started my business 7 years ago and I had none of that because I think, Christ, if I was trying to build something brand new now, I don't know if I don't know how to do it. So, how did you logistically manage it?
Well, you need all the help that you can get. So at the time, I had a nanny
Mm.
that lived with me. So my parents, obviously, not my parents, I'm sorry, my husband helped me a lot. Like truly, he really helped me a lot. He worked, had a regular job, and he would help me in the morning with the kids. I had a nanny at home, and I mean, you make it work, right? My mother-in-law would help, when needed. Um, but I just stay focused on what I wanted to achieve, and leverage help, of those around me, obviously. And yeah, and then we got started.
And how did you set the business up then? Was it were you in an office? Did you work from home? Like paint the picture of those really early days in.
Sure. Yeah. So once I said yes, and now remember, I had never been an entrepreneur. I didn't know how to set a website up. I didn't even know how to establish my company, my corporate LLC. All those things I had to learn. And I'm like, okay, how do we even start? When you're a salesperson in the company, you don't get to see the back office operations. You even know how the business is ran and operated. So, but again, I think leveraging the people around you, leveraging the ecosystem, the network of people that have been where you're going. And that's what I did. I would call all my friends in staffing. Hey, I'm thinking about starting a company. How do you do this? How do you build a website? Like, how do you pick a name for your business? That's another thing. Like all the little things. Do I need to set up a business account? Like, I knew nothing about the business. So I started the company, and, first, I said, okay, I want to be a women owned, minority owned company. Wanted to, picked a name. By the way, AGM stands by the three middle initials of my kids.
Oh,
So it's Ashley, Grace, and Michael. It was really hard to pick a name. Every name was picked at the time. So I said, you know what, let's go to AGM Tech Solutions. And then, little by little, started to set up the company with, name, website, and email address, and all those things. And I remember starting the company, having the concept, okay, let's start the company is one thing, but then what do you do next? You need a client. So what I did was I had worked at a previous company, and I had some relationships there. So I approached this client and I said, hey, I'm thinking about starting I went to the chief of procurement officer at the time. And I said, I'm thinking about starting my company. Would you support me? Would you make me a vendor here? And to my surprise, I'll never forget the tears walking out of that Fortune 500 company. They said yes. They
mm.
said, we believe in you. You have an amazing reputation. Go get your company set up, and we're going to make you a vendor. And that was like, oh my gosh, I hit the lottery, that day. So that's what I did. It took me 3 months. And once I got the company established, we became a vendor at this client. But I had no team, Sean. I was one person at the time. I had no
And
recruiters.
like you say, looking at
I had
your track
nothing.
record, it was built on a delivery and front office model, right? Where you split the work. So, in the UK, it's very common for someone to do the whole job on their own. And I
Mhm.
did that. I was a 360 recruiter, right? Whereas in the US, it does feel like delivery and sales and account management is all split more. And I think we're moving down that way here now.
Yeah.
Um, so how did you manage it? Did you fill the jobs yourself in the early days and just do the whole thing?
So yeah, that's a great point. Now, obviously, that still happens here in America if it's more the direct placement model, but we do IT staff augmentation mostly on the contract side. So yes, you have a team of delivery, which is just a recruitment team, and then you've got the account managers managing the clients. So what I did was, as soon as I started and I got, to be, the MSA to be on this client, I then went and hired a part-time recruiter. Now, remember, I got no funding. I went to about 3 to 5 banks and I got denied a loan. Access to capital is very challenging for anyone starting a business. I didn't have a formal education, right, on none of those things. So it was
Yeah.
very hard for me to even get the funding to start. But again, didn't let those things stop me. Started with my own money. So the first thing I did was I said, you know what? I'm not going to pursue any shiny objects. I'm going to stay focused on the business. So I focused on bringing business and then finding the delivery team. So at first, what I did was I hired a few recruiters part time, independent, like no salary. So if they made a placement, I would then pay them because I didn't have salary, I didn't have
Yeah.
cash flow to pay them a salary. So as soon as we started putting like a few people on billing, then I started to build cash flow, and then 6 months down the road is when I made my first hire full time.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's like there's moments in that. Can you remember any moments in that first 6 months where you maybe doubted yourself? Can you go
Well, I'll
back?
tell you this. So, I mean, every single day. I remember when I went to meet with a procurement officer, and he said, "Okay, we're going to put you on the list, but you got to make 30 placements in your first year." And I'm like, 30 placements. I'm like, and no, I had done more than that in my previous career, but when you're just one person's company, you don't even know what comes the following day, right? We're talking about everything in the piece of the business, back off operations, everything, right?
Yeah.
So 3 months after I was brought in at this client, and that was my only client at the time, they were doing a big assessment and they said, we have 34 vendors on the vendors list and we're going to decrease to 10 vendors. And the procurement officer looked me in the eye and said, "You're not going to make it. You're too small. We have to get you out of the vendors list." And I remember I walked out of that building with tears in my eyes and I said, "God, you didn't take me this far to have me hanging and stop now." So I remember I looked her in the eye and I said, "I know I'm a small vendor, but I fight like a big one."
Hmm.
It was truly the story of the David and Goliath because they had all these big companies, tech systems inside global, and they wanted to remain the top 10 vendors to be, these
Yeah,
national
they're
clients that
rationalizing it.
support
Yeah.
them, right? So I remember, and I had just quit my job. I gave up everything. I was about to lose the one client that I needed to get the company off the ground. So, we went through an RFP and then I went to work. I hired some more part-time recruiters. And I did not let that distract me. I focused on the business and I just focused on meeting clients and meeting clients, meeting clients and delivery. So then we went through the RFP, and to my surprise, they came back and said, "You made it. You're going to stay on the list." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." So we went to work. I remember in my first year, she said, you need to make 30 placements. We made 100 placements in
Wow.
my first year in business with very limited resources. But again, I think it's, a lot of times you start the company and you think you got to have all the things in place. I got to have a beautiful website. I got to have a big, all the processes, all the systems in place. You don't really need a lot to get the work done if you really focus on what's right in front of you and make sure that that is what, that's what you're focusing on. That's what needs to be, taken care of. And again, focus on results. That's always been my mantra.
No, I agree. I agree. It's about
Yeah.
just rolling those sleeves up, right, and just going for it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so how did the business evolve then? So if we look at the end of the first year, what did it look like from a client
Sure.
base, revenue, people, etc.?
Yeah. So no, and when we started the company, I started the company remotely. We didn't have an office, so I worked from home.
Hmm.
And I did that strategically too, because as I thought about the future of our company, and again, this is before COVID even was here. I had no idea COVID was gonna,
Hmm.
we're gonna go through COVID. But I strategically wanted a team that was diverse, and that was just set up in different parts of the country. So did not see a need to have an office. So I started hiring people in different areas of the country. So in the very first year in business, we did 9 million in revenue.
Wow.
And that was amazing. I said, you know what, we got this. And I think, there's many things that contributing to our success or growth. One, it was we're obsessed with client experience and delivery and really having that consultative approach to understand our clients' needs. And we're not a vendor, we're truly a partner. And with that, I think it's also, this recruiting, you can be an amazing salesperson, but if you don't have the right delivery team, it doesn't matter how much business you bring. If you can't deliver, it means nothing to your clients or,
Yeah.
to all the work that you put in. So I've always been, I think I've done a great job here, really instilling that vision into our team and really teaching them on how to service our clients the way that their needs are, the way that they want to be serviced. So just really building a team and developing a team and just coaching them and becoming that model, that consultative approach model, where I knew that the more we became that way, the more business we're going to earn from our clients. So first year in business, I think it was just me as a salesperson, and probably about 3 recruiters, I think at the time, maybe 2 actually. Second year in business, we did 16 million in revenue. Again, still remote working. Third year in business, we did 24 million in revenue. Now my team started to grow to probably about 4 recruiters at the time and another salesperson. Fourth year in business, we did 30 million in revenue. Last year we did about 26 million. So we've done over 100 million in sales in the last 5 years total. Today we've got a team of 25 people. I've got a small team in India as well that, it's a small delivery team that's growing. But yeah, we've grown leaps and bounds. We're recognized by Inc. 5000, one of the fastest growing companies in America, twice on a row. We just got another recognition today that we made the Inc. regionals here for this area. And yeah, I mean, we're focused on growth and making sure that we're making an impact and a difference in the companies and the lives of the people that we get to work with.
Wow, there's so much there. The the bit that, well, you should be so proud of yourself, right? Because it's incredible what you've achieved. And if we look at, 1 minute you literally were cleaning people's houses and babysitting at one point, and then now you've sold 100 millions worth of business in 5 years. It's insane. So well done. I'm interrupting today's episode to give you a message from our brand new sponsor. Now, this company are called Untapped, and everyone knows that Hoxo, through this podcast, I've explained that we've built our team internationally, heavily in South Africa, okay? And I get questions all the time from clients and people who listen to the show, like, how have you done it? What was the process, etc. Well, I've partnered with a business that can ultimately reveal it all, share it all, and help you do the same, right? Because look, it's been a tricky year for the sector, and many of people through uncertain times have had to streamline operations. However, accessing low-cost resources internationally has proven to be a bit of a cheat code for some people, including Hoxo. But anyone who's tried it, like us, it's very difficult, a lot of work, process to get it right. So this company, Untapped, are one of the hottest companies in the market. They've helped Hoxo, they're helping our clients. And they specifically look at companies in the UK, US, Middle East, and Australia transition to using remote individuals and building full offshore sourcing and recruitment solutions. So they source talent pools from places like South Africa and the Philippines. And we're talking about experienced talent here. We're not talking about graduates with no experience. This is like people with 3 to 5 years recruitment experience, and integrate them into your UK team, okay? So they work remotely, but plug into your UK team. They put around 3,000 candidates per month through an intense 4-stage interview and online testing process to find the top 1% or 30 people and secure these people for work with recruitment agencies like yourself. All candidates are benchmarked against UK competency frameworks and the way in which you would hire in the UK. So we're not talking about cheap for the sake of being cheap. We're talking about international, experienced people just living in lower cost locations. So it's a really simple process. If you want to work with these guys, you pay a deposit to kick off their search. They then provide a candidate shortlist in 14 days. And then you can put people through your own process to hire them permanently, or there's a freelance option. So if you just want to try before you buy, they can employ them. You pay a daily rate and it's a freelance option. Untapped are totally transparent with all the salaries and fees. But, we're talking about you'll still pay about 70% less than a UK equivalent in that role. So it's a no-brainer to complement your existing team, to handle surplus demand and ease cost pressures. If you're not using this to rip up your business and rebuild it with global resources, then you're probably going to fall behind eventually. So due to demand and capacity, they're only operating on a waiting list right now. So if you want to be part of their waiting list, go to www.tryuntapped.com. Okay, www.tryuntapped.com and check out their information. Make sure you say that you listen to the RAG podcast, because they'll do you a very special deal as well. Right. Go and check them out. Back to the show.
Thank you.
But the bit that really stands out for me is that you almost built your business in a post-COVID way, pre-COVID. So like, if you think about, if I just give you my story quickly, like I went into the pandemic with an office in London with 15 staff physically together every day. Within a week of COVID, I cut the contract on the office and we've never gone back, right? And we are now, all over the world. We've got clients all over the world. We're fully remote. We love it. We've embraced it. And I think, I wish I didn't even think about it. Like, it wasn't even an option. The way I was trained in recruitment was like, you don't work from home ever. So when I started my own business, it was just the way we thought. Well, we had to meet every day. Like, it was just physically the way we worked. So now, there's so many recruitment companies starting up in the mindset that you are, but I didn't know anyone back then. So what was it? You say it was cash, but tell me about how did you see, again, you recruited nationally. So you need people dotted around, but why do you need them dotted around? Is it so they could physically meet clients, meet candidates? Well, what was the rationale behind spreading people out when, perhaps some would say you'd perform a lot better if you're all in a room in New Jersey or whatever?
Yeah, you're right, and I love I love you sharing that part of your story too. I mean, today we actually have an office in New Jersey, and today there's I think there's always going to be challenges whether you have a remote team and not a localized team because it does help build a better culture of the
Yep.
team and development of those individuals, right? But I think for me, my vision is okay. We're going to support national clients. Clients have different needs in different markets. And if you have a local person in that market, it's much easier for you to develop a deep footprint and just knowledge about what's happening. If I have a recruiter in Georgia or in Virginia, that person is going to help me, that person is going to help us educate about companies around the market and where candidates are coming from and technology what we're fighting. So it was more strategic in that way where because I knew where our needs are going to come from, and I said I needed a team there because I want to make sure that we're well equipped and set up to serve the needs of our clients. But from a company perspective, today we're well positioned here in New Jersey, and I just we opened our office here 2 years ago, and I want to continue to expand as well as in Georgia. I don't have a need to have a team set up in many different states. We've got employees in Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, India. I don't need to have it in every single state, but I think it does help depending on where your clients are sitting today because I think it's just helps you really educate yourselves and the team on what,
How
on
would you
how to.
say the candidate and client relationships post COVID, like obviously pre COVID, it was trying to get in front of as many people as you could, right? How do you operate now? Because again, are you guys still on flights across the country meeting customers, or is it all done on Zoom? Like, how is the mechanics of the business when it comes to engaging with candidates and clients these days?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think it depends on the model and the types of clients that you are servicing today. Some clients, they're no touch accounts, right? So you may be dealing with an MSP program where you
Yeah.
can't really have conversations with the hiring managers. Most of our clients that we deal with, they are direct clients. They're, direct driven relationship accounts. So you need to be meeting with those clients. So definitely through COVID, everything went Zoom, right? All the meetings were via Zoom. Today, it's a combination of both. I mean, our clients went back on site, and here in America, Sean, there's a lot of companies that's going back on site 4 days a week, some even 5 days a week
Hmm.
now. So I think clients are going back, and yes, you got to be on site meeting your clients. I mean, if you're not in front of in front of them in their face, you're not going to be the top salesperson, the top vendor for that company. So it's a combination of both. But for those clients that are on site, obviously, our sales team is there meeting with them.
So how is it literally because it's such a big country? Again, you got to fly around you got to actually send teams around the country to meet customers on the ground.
So right now, our deepest footprint is New Jersey and Georgia.
Right.
So right now, I've got sales team that support our clients here and there, and that's where we go to meet our clients. Now, if there's a client that's maybe in a different state, let's say Chicago, where I've been, then we'll go there. But right now, we're more centralized in these two states.
And what has been your strategy for winning business? Like, how would you describe the approach to? Obviously, I know once you get a client, you're going to deliver for them and you're going to throw everything you can at it. But how are you opening the door with new business?
Great question. I think that my number one strategy is how can you become an extension of your customer, like truly, not just companies. This, it's very saturated. There's 20,000 staffing companies in U.S. alone. I don't know if there's anything really unique about AGM. Yes, we're Latina owned, we're women owned, but everybody's doing the same thing. But it's become so transactional in this industry, and clients know. They know when you're just there to place a body.
Yeah.
They also know when you're just there when they have business. I've never had that mindset. So my mindset is we're going to win business by truly becoming a partner and an extension of their team. And by that, I mean, do you really study their business? I mean, I spent hours and hours studying about my client's business. I know about all of their upcoming initiatives. I know what's happening in the market. I know what their spend is. I know what their trending technologies, their innovation, what they're focusing on. So I think, if you can position yourself as an extension of their team to truly understand their challenges, how their culture is set up, how their team, their organizational environment is and landscape is, they look at you differently. They're like, you know what? here's somebody that actually knows about my business. And I've always taken that consultative approach. And I think that's why we've been able to grow so quickly within the clients that we serve today, is because we take that approach. And I think when you're able to anticipate the clients of your needs, when you show up differently, when something happens, do you run away? Do you anticipate the needs of your clients? Do you address them? Like, the clients value that partnership. So that's been our model. It's
So how do
really,
you get new clients though? Is it referrals, or are you still cold calling? Are you using LinkedIn? Like, what's been your strategy to opening? Because again, I can see how you're going to land and expand in a business, but it's
yeah.
still, how do you get those new logos in the door?
Yeah, and that is actually something that is a challenge for any business,
Mm.
and that is a focus of our company right now, is bringing new logos and winning new business. The first thing I do is leverage my network. I think any person, whether you're a salesperson today or you're starting a company, who do you know? Make a list of who you know, and every client, to be honest with you, every client that we've been able to bring into AGM has been through network, through relationships. So I always go back to, who do I know? Where is that person now? And and again, that's been my strategy. Going to conferences, there's lots of conferences here where you got an opportunity to meet all these big corporations, right? Me being part of the WeBank conference, the WeBank Association, so I get an opportunity to introduce myself. But it's following those people that worked with you in the past. I mean, somebody that was a VP at a company today, a director, they moved on to another company. Follow them, go connect with them, go meet with them again. So that's been my strategy, is leveraging who we know,
Leveraging who you know.
leverage, yeah, relationships. That's
That
right.
is literally as well. I love how you've said that, because I think that's what's wrong with recruitment, is that people
Yeah.
are so focused on what's next, they forget what's gone before. And, if my whole business is about helping recruiters build their brand on LinkedIn, right? And it's not branding for the vanity, it's to win business, it's to make more money. And if you think about, like, I've literally been ramming this home so much recently, is like, if you look at your first degree network, so how many connections have you got on LinkedIn right now, Mirtes?
So I have over 10,000.
Right, so 10,000 people. Now, the reality of you connecting one-on-one with them on an annual basis is zero. There's no chance, right? You'll get
Right.
around it as closely as you can, but you're also a mom of three, you're a business owner. The
Right.
priorities are there, right? And the average recruiter has 5,000 connections. So,
Right.
and what we know, because we've studied LinkedIn, is that 50% on average of your connections will visit the platform once a week. So at least 5,000 people in your case are on LinkedIn every week. So via your LinkedIn platform time, which can be really short but really powerful, you can actually speak to those people consistently every single week. Now, I still have clients now from 2019 that I've literally like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, they know about my baby. They know about everything I'm doing because of my content, because of my brand, right? It's not reliant on me phoning them all the time and updating them. It's like I'm doing it at scale. And it's the same mindset. It's still taking the approach that all these contacts I've built, like, all right, yeah, we can go after new people all day, but actually it's going to be an easier win if I ring someone who I've worked with before, because
That's
they're going to
right.
give me the time,
Yeah.
you know? It's
Yeah.
incredible. And I really think that's where, like, AI, people are obsessed with AI right now. Can I use automation to blast 100,000 emails out next month? You can.
Right.
But
Right.
100,000 of those emails don't know who you are. So
Yeah.
99% of them aren't going to reply because they don't know who you are. They don't trust
Yeah.
you. You might get
Yeah.
1% reply rate, but 99% of 100,000 people have got a negative perception of you as a spammy agency now.
That's right.
And yet you're ignoring the 10,000 connections you got on LinkedIn. It's bonkers. Like, literally, it's what I talk about all day. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
nuts.
no, that's amazing. I mean, your network truly is your wealth.
Yeah.
And, I'm a person that, listen, if I'm going to go, if I'm walking by, a hall and I see a cleaning lady or somebody that's just, I don't know, a boss boy, I say hello to them. I
Yeah.
treat everybody the same. You never know. The power of connection is so powerful. I mean, I've been able to win business from relationships because I took the time to call them and say hello. You never know who in your network, within your circle, is going to be the next door opener for you. You just don't know. And like, I teach that a lot here in my company, where, like, really pay attention, go out of your way to meet people, connect with people, have a genuine interest in them. And like, to your like, to your point, I'm probably sitting on tons of business today that, and again, if I put more focus into that, I mean, imagine the amount of doors that I can open for our company. And I truly, you're 100% right. I think that is the number one biggest and right strategy to leverage is who you know. Start with what you have.
And what you said there about saying hello to people is because you've been there, right? You've worked in those jobs. I'm the same. I used to when I moved to Australia when I was 23. I went from being a school teacher in the UK, which I had to get qualifications for, to working in a coffee shop. And the way some of the staff in the businesses around the coffee shop spoke to me was like really, really patronizing and condescending. And I hated it. I couldn't, I was a professional teacher in my career in the UK, and I'm just doing this to get up the, just to find my feet. And and the way a lot of them spoke to me was so rude, and they didn't ever want to know my name. Like I remember I'd say their name because I'd have to write it down on the coffee cups. But
Yeah.
they never go. I'd be like, "Hey, Steve, how's it going?" He'd be like, "Hey, mate," and then he'd be like, "Yeah, I want my." I'm like, "Usual flat white or whatever." He's like, "Yeah," and he never once asked my name. And I
Huh.
thought this could go on for a month, and I'm like, "This is so." Now, like, I went to Dubai with my kids at Christmas, and we stayed in an Airbnb, and there was like maybe 3 or 4 security guards who would rotate on the main reception. And every time I walked in, I said hello, and I asked them how they were, and I got their names, and I shook their hands, and my kids
That's
are like,
right.
"Why are you so interested in these guys? Like, they're just security guards." I was like, "It's not about. I don't want anything from them." But you know
Yeah.
what? There was a moment where my friend came and he needed to park and he wasn't supposed to, and they opened up the and they let him in and they said, "Oh, just park in the corner, no problem." So I was
I
like,
see.
"You don't realize what's gonna these little moments. You're gonna need someone.
Yeah.
It matters, right?"
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's why I love this business so much. You got to value people. You are nothing, you're no one. I say that,
Yeah.
this company has been, we've been, incredibly blessed by having the growth that we've had. And I certainly did not do this alone. And it's been an incredible team of people with the same vision, the same mindset. But you got to value people. You got to be constantly adding value to people, and like that's why I love this industry because we truly connect people to opportunities. And we get every time we make a phone call, right, Sean, to somebody and say, "You've got a job." You don't know the tears that they're having in that moment. You don't
No,
know the impact you're having in that family. You're about to change somebody's life, and it's like, I mean, it's so rewarding. But yes, the more we learn to value people and connect with people, I think the more successful. It's like, learn to give them, and if you give them what they need, you're always gonna get what you want. The famous Zig Ziglar, quote.
for
So
sure. So
yeah.
tell me about your role now then. So you got 25 people, you're 6 years or so down the line. What does the CEO of AGM do? Like, how would you describe your day to day now compared to maybe 5 years ago?
Yeah, great question. So, starting your company, there's so many milestones that you want to achieve, right? I had to make, decisions early on about, how fast do we want to, did we want to grow, and how are we going to set up this company? So, I've been hands on, like boots on the ground, Sean, selling and doing all the things, hiring and building the company, putting processes in place, systems to make sure that we're efficient to grow from 10 million to 50 million to 100 million. So we've been working, simultaneously in all different areas. Um, right now, I think in the past 6 months, I've really been focusing on stepping into the seat of a CEO, which is really strategy, vision for growth, adding leadership team into my company. And again, you have all these things that come at you every single day. What do you want to focus first? So for me, right now, I want to take this company from 30 million to 50 million and then 50 to 100 million. So right now, I am looking at the business holistically. We don't want to compromise our delivery. We don't want to compromise how we serve our clients. We've grown organically, and I like that model, without compromising. Nobody's a number in my company. Everybody has a seat at the table.
Mm.
So I want to continue to expand. So I'm focused on growth, bringing new logos, adding leadership team, adding to the sales team, to hopefully get to the numbers that we set for ourselves. So it's focused on doing the right things for the clients, doing the right things for the customers, doing the right thing for the employees here, to make sure that we continue to be successful in all different areas.
So you're still in client pitches and dealing with problems and solutions, and you're still sleeves up involved with the team on all fronts.
I am still very heavily involved with my team. I mean, I'm a hands-on person in terms of coaching development. So a lot of times I'm still joining meetings, client meetings. Sometimes I still go on meetings with them. When you're the face of the company, the CEO, especially because it's a women-owned, I think it does make an impact. Some of the clients want to hear your
Yeah.
story,
Yeah.
right? There's that trust factor, right? That you can, offer and influence. But yes, I think that no matter how much we grow, I still want to be somewhat very, hands-on in some areas of the company. I mean, it depends on how big we grow, but I think it's important for me to be involved and still have those conversations with end clients. I think they appreciate that.
100%. Where where are you heading? So if we're going to look at the future, let's say we were going to bring you back on in 2 years' time. Where do you think you're going to be? Like, what's the vision and what you're trying to create?
So I would love, again, my next vision is for us to be in a couple of different markets, and grow where the markets that we have established ourselves as a company. I wanted to triple. I think my number one goal is expand our sales team. Right, that's how you grow. You got to make investments in sales. You got to make investments on your delivery team. That's one thing that I've always said I'll never compromise. It's sales and delivery. So, but again, and another challenge I'll add to any entrepreneur starting a business is how do you really identify your ICP, right? Because, when you're starting a business, you say yes to every company, you just want their
Of
business and their
course, you need
opportunity.
it.
So you need it. And I have to say, I'm still in that phase where we're growing. And I think we're still like defining, okay, who do we want to service? Because, there's so much to learn here in this journey. So I'm in this phase right now where we're like, okay, who really is our ideal client? Where can we really be successful? But I think we've laid out some really good foundations in our company in terms of the team, our delivery model, and internal proven process that really works. Our consultative approach to selling. So I just want to expand and duplicate what we've done, and then hopefully expand 2, 3 times.
Wow. No one's got it figured out, don't you? Like, we know
Right,
what you say, like the ICP or whatever. Everyone's got every company on the planet. I don't care who they are, how
right,
successful they look. They've not got it figured out. Everyone's still got
right.
something that's bothering them about their business that they haven't figured
Yeah.
out. And we're the same. Like, we've done phenomenal things over the last few years. Like, my business has transformed since the pandemic, and it's actually changed shape completely. Like, so we still ultimately solve the same problem, but in a completely different way, and a way that I love. But again, it's still growth and success in that direction has created new problems that we didn't know we'd have. And I think the day you have no more problems, the day your business is done.
You're bored,
uh,
right? I
yeah,
mean, you're right. And I love you sharing your journey. By the way, you and I need to get together so I can learn about your services and your products there. But I think, that's the beautiful journey about being an entrepreneur is that you get to innovate every day. Your clients, you're serving one clients that may have engineering services and needs today. And all of a sudden, you didn't know that client had IT services or this and that. You got to innovate. You get to become whatever it is that you want to be. It really depends, what you want to be, right? Like, do you want to go that route? Do you want to service? But I love that every day is a different day and we have a different challenge every single day and our clients have different needs. And all of a sudden you got to become the expert in this Gen AI thing. It's like, I mean, it keeps us going. I mean, it really, I love that. I think that's one of the things that I love about running a business is that there's always something new to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. That's
yeah.
always been my mindset. And I think that that's what drives us here and certainly drives me.
Fulfillment, never getting bored, always
That's
moving
right.
forward.
Yeah.
What's
Fulfillment,
life?
number one.
So what's life like? Like, as candid as you can be. Like, what is life actually like outside of work? So you come to the US as a Brazilian immigrant. I imagine you might have had a good background, family background, business entrepreneurs in Brazil, but still, you talked about the price. I know what it's like over there. You've also then you've had to do those jobs where you're on like minimum wage to get by. Now you've got a multi-million-dollar business. What impact has that actually had on the way you live and how you treat, what life you're providing for your kids, and how do you keep a balance on that as well?
Yeah, that's a that's a great point. That's a great question. Um, Never forget where you come from, right? But don't dare let that define who you are. I'm a person of courage, and I think my parents have instilled that in me. Humble beginnings, and never despise small beginnings. I never forget where I came from. My mom, started her career by selling hot dogs on the street, and we still live somewhat simple. I don't let the accolades, the money, all of that get the best out of me.
Mm,
I think keep your head down, focus on integrity and honesty. It always comes back to you trust. Obviously we enjoy, having a company. There's definitely, it's a big commitment when you're responsible for a payroll of 175 people working in your company.
mm.
And that constant, like, am I a great leader? Like, so, I think for me, it's all what is important. My family is important to me, and I'm constantly having to, like, really work on my schedule and think and rethink. Like, for example, yesterday, I'll give you a perfect example. My daughter was sick at home, and I said, should I stay at home or should I go to work? And my heart was saying, go to work. Like, your employees need to see you there. They need to see you. If they're not there, they're probably going to think, where's Mirtes? What is she doing? That was the first thought that came to my mind. Like, I need to be there. But then I said, no, my daughter needs me. And she said, Mommy, can you stay with me? And I stayed at home with her. So, like, as an entrepreneur, like, you have those hard moments where you want to be more present with your kids, or you feel like you need to be more present at work. It's a constant, evolving thing, and you have to readjust. You have to prioritize, because I don't want to look back and say I sacrificed my family for this business, nor do I want to say I didn't dream big enough for my business and therefore, I settled for less. But I think it's, constantly looking at, what's right in front of you. Stay true to who you are, those foundation, those critical values that your parents instilled in you. So I let those, be the guiding star for me.
I love it. It's so similar to my journey because, like, even like, I've just downloaded an app called Headway. I don't know if it's a bit like there's one called Blinkist where you can get a book in 15 minutes and it gives you like a shorter version. So I'm walking the dogs in the morning listening to different books, right? And one book was What Successful People Do Before Breakfast. And I listened to this book, and I'll tell you where, because I've since the baby arrived 5 months ago, I've been doing the school run, the breakfast, the getting the ready, all of that stuff, and I never did that before. So that's put an hour or so into my day, maybe an hour and a half that I didn't used to need to have. So other things have been pushed, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I started to think the kids have got such a good routine. Do I need to be? Could I get them up, but then let them crack on for an hour, take the dogs for a walk, listen to a podcast or whatever, and try and cram more in? And then this book actually made me step back because it said, what successful people do before breakfast is they focus on like project, like really high value, but maybe not urgent projects. And, that involves the relationships with the most important people in your life. And so I was like, I was almost about to trial going out between 7 and 8 a.m. or 7:20 and 8:20 when they're basically getting themselves ready, because I know they can do it now. I've seen them do it. I've worked with them to either be in my office or be on the phone or whatever, and then I've realized no, because that's an hour every day I get to spend with these kids, and also my your body, your energy, your attitude. It's like an iPhone. You plug it in overnight, you're 100%. By the end of the day, it's on 5 or 10%. So the version of you they get after school, especially when
Yeah.
I finish at 6 p.m. and I'm in the house, it's not the same version as 7, 8 a.m. So
Yeah.
build your relationships when you're most, you got the energy, you've got that. And I'm a morning guy. So
Yeah.
I've literally changed it. In the last 2 weeks, I said, no, I'm going to carry on. And it's been the best decision I've made.
That's
Crazy.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love when you talk about these new habits, because I feel like, again, it's, how do you prioritize? How do you eliminate certain things? And what are you value? Like,
Yeah.
and we go through different seasons. Right now you have a newborn baby, and it's requiring more of you in certain areas. So I think it's so important for you to pause and, and then make adjustments, and yes, adopt these new habits into your life, because it's so impactful, and most importantly to those around you, like your kids, like you said, and your wife. And I know, I have a small practice where I come home, I can literally be on my phone until 10 o'clock at night nonstop. And when my walk in, at home, my kids, all they know is I'm their mommy. They don't care that I'm a CEO.
Hmm.
So I have a practice now. When I come home and as soon as I park my car in the garage, I don't look at my phone.
Good.
because I could literally walk in with my phone like this, and
Yeah.
then I'm like, "Hi, Brianna," and then but I'm not present
You're
for
not
them.
mentally
So
there.
I
Yeah.
shut my phone. I'm like, "No, I'm not looking at my phone for the next 30 minutes. I'm gonna be there. Like, how's your day?" Because they are like, "Mommy's home, mommy's home." So yes, it's these little habits that does make a huge difference in your life and your day to day.
And do you know
Yeah,
what? It all comes down to saying no to things.
yeah,
Because saying no as an entrepreneur, when you've had to say yes to every bit of business and
yeah,
make it happen, saying no is something that you probably haven't done at the beginning. Maybe in your personal life, you've
yeah,
sacrificed things. But
yeah,
I find now, like I could have, every week I could have 20, 30, 40 meetings with people who want to talk to me about something. And
yeah,
and I'd love to do it. And I still want to give people time as much as possible. But there's times where you have to say no to protect your energy and protect the people or your business or whatever it is.
yeah.
And I think if we're going to reflect then on this time, this 5.5, 6 years, and you're going to, what are three things that you could say to someone who's about to go on this journey? And I literally spoke to a guy today who's starting his agency in 30 days' time, right? There's so many people listening. Three things that tips, advice, steps, anything that you would implore someone launching their recruitment agency in 24 to think about.
Um, Great point. Number one, say yes. Believe that what you do matters. You know, my coach Casey Jaycox taught me this, and this was one of the very first questions that he asked me: "Do you believe that what you do matters?" And that's why I am where I am today. That's why I left Brazil, and that's why I went through what I went through, is because I believed what I do matters. So when you firmly, deeply believe what you do matters, you let nothing come in your way. You let no negative talk, no disbelief, no lack of funding, no lack of this resources. No. So I would say believe what you do matters and stay faithful to that calling. Stay faithful to that thing that's calling you. Believe that you can make a difference, and all the other things will be added onto you. All the other things. I would say leverage your ecosystem, leverage who you know. There's tons and tons of people willing to help you today at no cost. You don't even have to pay somebody to learn, something, a system, a process, things that you need to put in place for your company. There's people there. There's free information, and dream big. Make sure that you are dreaming bigger than yourself. I mean, set a vision that's bigger. Communicate that to your employees so that they know that what they're working on, what they're investing in their life in, is bigger than themselves, because it has to be bigger than you. Otherwise, you're going to get bored quickly, and you're going to get frustrated quickly. But if it's bigger than you, I want to be better. I want to be the top this. I want to be the biggest impact maker in this community. When you dream bigger than yourself, then all of a sudden you have, it's hard for you to actually put limits in yourself, and more people will come around you and motivate you and just rally with you to accomplish that which you set for yourself.
Mirtes, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much. Your energy, your story, it's infectious. I hope people have enjoyed it. If anyone does want to reach out to you and just ask any questions about any part of the journey, are you okay with that if I tag you on your LinkedIn account and they can message you on there?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a connector in nature. So yes, would love to connect with all of you. And thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I want to give a shout out to our friend Jeanette. She's the
Yeah,
one that introduced you and me. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share and introduce myself and share a little bit more about my story and AGM Tech Solutions. It's been a
my pleasure.
pleasure.
My pleasure. And we'll get you back on in a couple of years and see how you're progressing. Triple the business. That's what we're expecting.
That's right. That would be amazing. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Pleasure. Thank you as always for listening to today's show. I truly hope that you got value from it. Honestly, it's the only reason I take time every week to ensure that my audience, you guys, future and existing recruitment owners, you're learning from each other to make this industry that I love so much stronger. And today's episode is brought to you by my business, Hoxo. I'm the CEO and founder, and we're on a mission to help brand recruitment agencies and their people better. I want to help people have the tools to stand out in the most competitive markets in the world. We're currently working with over 350 recruitment agencies and 5,000 of their consultants right now, helping them to build their personal brands, to consistently win more business, attract talent, and just become that go-to recruiter in the market. Now, we do have a huge coaching program, but a lot of people don't know we also manage the brands of a lot of founders, and we can do the rebrand of that company organizational piece as well. So if your recruitment agency either needs help to look and sound exactly how you want it to, or your leadership and consultant level need to get out there and drive more traffic back to that website, to the business, and start using LinkedIn to generate more revenue, then you should definitely be reaching out to us. If that sounds of interest, please do visit www.hoxomedia.com or drop me, Sean, a personal message on LinkedIn. I love hearing from RAG listeners. I would love to talk to you. Look forward to it. So I'll see you again next week with another episode. Catch you soon.